Hello, everyone. Good morning. Are you awake? In a good health? All is cool? Yep, with a strong pulse. So back to the future, data-driven decisions in pharma. Today you will see a lot of changes and a glimpse about what's happening in the pharmaceutical industry. But before we go into that, I'd like to make a very quick disclaimer that today's presentation is not a reflection of any data or confidential information in my past experience, the 15 years in the pharma companies I worked for. I'm sharing the networking experience, the overall understanding of the pharma industry. This is a very important disclaimer. Okay, so before we start, a quick question. How many of you have watched the movie Back to the Future in 1985 until 1991? Okay, cool. We have a cool sample of audience that they are interested for it. And since you know that, without explaining the value and understanding what's happened there, I will talk about it a little bit late, but keep this in your mind. Before we go that, I would like to ask you to open your mobile and install a Kahoot application. Yeah, this is the one. Open your mobile if it's iOS, Android, install Kahoot. I will share with you a game bin just to wake you up and tease you in the morning. And then we'll start all together the presentation and sharing the insights and little bits what's happening in the pharma. So the name of the application is Kahoot, K-A-H-O-O-T. And you will not create an account. You will just, whenever we start this, you will enter a game pin and you will join the game. You will choose a funny nickname that you can start with. So get ready, just enter the game pin. I'm waiting for you as a players. Choose a funny nickname that you can start with. And before we go into that, I'd like to ask you a question. So how many of you work in the health industry field or working closely with the health industry field? Just to know this question from the audience. Right, cool. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. And full respect to the other audience as well. So that's cool. If you can enter the game pin, we have only one player have joined so far. So you go to Kahoot app, you will enter the game pin, do not create any account, just put the pin here. Mr. Drogba, Dogra, I apologize because, yeah, cool. Because today as well, Egypt is playing a football match that's going to happen in the evening. So have joined so far. And 2 dots. That's very nice who's joining with 2 dots. That's why we have 2 players. I'll give you more 30 seconds and then we'll start immediately the Kahoot game because it's just for a very simple 4 to 5 questions. For the new one who's joining, open your mobile, install Kahoot game, enter the game pin to join us. 20 seconds left. If you're struggling a little bit to install the app, just take the game pin on the notes book where you are trying to join. All right, last 10 seconds. So we have Luna, Tanvi, Mr. Kunal, Dr. Dogra, and the 2 dots. Cool. I think we can start, and please just take a note in case you want to join later for those who did not join yet. All right, so the Kahoot, just to let you know, the faster you respond to the question, the better scores you will get if you are not familiar with the game. So the first question, we have 1 minute, but for the upcoming question will be 30 seconds. The faster you respond in a correct answer, the higher points that you will get. So what is the most valuable promotional tool in pharma? Is it face-to-face by the field force, video call by a field force or a tele? Social media or a sponsorship, like a congress sponsorship, a conference like what we have today. We have 4 responses so far at 26 seconds. I think I will wait for more because one player has joined late and then we'll go ahead. Yeah, now it's done. So you can see face-to-face visit is the correct answer, and there's a discrepancy in the answer between social media and face-to-face visits. And that's a very important thing to clarify. The most important and valuable tool in pharma is that one-to-one interactions with the doctors, with healthcare professionals, where we can communicate, we can share, and we can share a lot of clinical trials and updates and the scientific information with the doctors. So that's the first one. Let's see in the scoreboard who is the top. So Dr. Dogra, congratulations, you're amazing. You're in the first place. Tanvi in the second place, and the 3 dots in the third place. 3 dots, if someday you are the winner, you need to reveal yourself and say who you are. I got you now. All right, moving into the second question. We have almost 6 questions left. What is the most expensive promotional tool in pharma? So we talked about what's the most valuable. Now, what's the most expensive one? Is it face-to-face visits, video calls, social media, or a sponsorship? Take your time. I still give you the 1 minute, but I see already 2 responses are remaining to go ahead. 1 left. Cool. So, wow. Another surprise that most of you have shared that sponsorship is the most expensive. And that's not. The most valuable and the most expensive and the most rewarding tool in pharma is the face-to-face interactions with the doctors. I'm coming from a background in digital, and I worked in many, in the past 15 years for sales, marketing, and digital in local, regional, and global companies. But the results is the most important one is the face-to-face interactions with the healthcare professionals. Okay, cool. Let's see if, yeah. So Luna, congratulations, you're in the first place now, doing great job. And big congrats for this, and Dr. Dogra, you need to come back. You are not doing amazing like you did in the past. All right, moving, true or false? So pharma marketeers need artificial intelligence and machine learning to be able to make a better decision making. Is that true or not? I'd like to challenge you and to tease you a little bit. And that's the beautiful thing that we come today and we network together and we share some opinions. Okay, cool. So the answer is yes, but are you ready? Do you have the right data? Do you have the right strategy? Or just you are doing isolated islands here and there? We'll discuss a little bit together in the presentations. I know that we have 12 minutes to go. Oh, wow. So for the third time, the ranking changed and Tavi is going into the first place. And Luna there, Dr. Dogra, you need to come back. This is not happening. All right, let's move into the fourth question. And that's a multiple answer. The application of artificial intelligence in pharma for decision making could be a prediction of sales revenue, profitability, and pricing, a prediction of factors affecting the sales market share and reimbursements, the factors. The customer sentiment analysis, the driver of the sentiments, just after the call, if the field force are conducting a call with the doctors, they want to know how they feel about it. And what's the driver of these? Let's see, all of the answers are correct. Many applications of artificial intelligence and machine learning, and all of you got the same scores, so we'll talk about this in the presentation. The fifth question, and that's having double points, so you have the opportunity to come back. So in the past 10, 15 years, the most common pharma promotional model, is it offline and online? Multi-channel customer engagements, did you hear about that, multi-channel marketing? Omni-channel marketing, or only face-to-face in the past 10, 15 years? What do you think? The most common pharma promotional tools. So we can see that correct one is omni-channel and multi-channel. We'll talk more about that, but many of you have shared face-to-face, and that's a tricky question, that the pharma has a lot of evolution in the past time. So the last question, what is the key difference between multi-channel and omni-channel marketing? In case, I see a lot of topics that were presented yesterday, and they were talking a little bit about social media, the engagements, the innovation pharma. I'd like to challenge you a lot today and see if you know the differences between both. And we have 7 seconds remaining to answer the question. All right, so the big difference is the customizations, and it's the omni-channel is more about patient-centric, but the multi-channel, it's the communication of the messages across many channels. We'll talk about that in the presentations, just sharing the final winners. So the third place position for this competition is Mr. Kunal, congratulations. The second one, Luna, and the first one will be Tanvi. Congratulations. Congratulations, guys. Cool. I intended to talk a little bit about this part, not only for ice breaking, but to share with you a little bit about the pharma, what's happening from a multi-channel, omni-channel, the interactions with the doctors and the healthcare community. But it's really complicated. So today I'm not covering everything, artificial intelligence and decision making in pharma. The model, as you can see, it's all about patients. All of the healthcare community target and focus about patients as the most important one. So here, with this patients, the pharma company only playing a small role, but there are many stakeholders, healthcare professionals, hospitals, patient advocacy, medical societies, insurance, governments, they're all connected to support the patients, and pharma role is to support the patients through the healthcare ecosystem. That's the authentic and very important vision that pharma companies should adopt and have been adopting in the past tons of years, decades. So today, I'm only talking about one arm, which is the pharma healthcare professional communications. I'm not talking about the other parts, only on these elements, in this communication together. But why the transformation needed? That's the first question that might come to our minds. Why do we need the transformation? Pharma companies are not a charity work, a non-NGO. We want to achieve higher sales, profitability, and little bit optimizing the costs, absolutely, and being, most importantly, a partner of healthcare community, where we can make a positive impact towards the patients, toward the medical societies, the and the patients' organizations as well, supporting the patient voices. So from this perspective, what is the hard truth? Since we want to communicate with the healthcare community and the pharmaceutical industries and the doctors, if you know John Wanamaker, the advertising, it's his very popular quote that half of my money was wasted, but I don't know which half. So that's the biggest challenge. If you wanted to ask, how can I optimize my investments? So that's the split that you never know which one of them is contributing to the sales growth, the profitability, the amazing thing. We know that the most valuable and the most important are the field force. But what about the other channels? And how much this is challenging? So, and that's why it led to different digital trends. We have seen in the past 10, 15 years in the industry that the marketeers, when they started to do something, I want to be innovative, to be different, so I might do artificial intelligence, augmented reality, the AR, VR, a lot of the technology that you can do to make you different and communicate the messages in innovative way with the doctors and healthcare professionals. But you are doing too much. And when it comes to the management team and you wanted to see what is the ROI, what are the return of investments, and how can I optimize these investments? And is it really results in a good progress? Is it really having an impact with the healthcare community? Isn't disrupting the doctors and their voices? And not only that, because the multi-channel has started in the past 10, 15 years. You are adding a lot of channels in addition to the face-to-face. And if this doesn't make sense, it will be too much communication to the doctors across the same messages that will be sent across many channels. And the field force will feel that there are so many happening there, and accordingly, they might feel resistance. So internally, inside the companies as well, if it doesn't make sense of your investments and why you are doing what you are doing and why you are adding so many channels, the field force will come and challenge this back and say, what is in it for me? What is in it for doctors? What is in it for patients? So that's a pretty high challenges of the innovations that the pharma company are passing through, and it's not like what's happening outside pharma in social media. We know social media works very well with the educational part, but you cannot promote pharmaceutical products on social media, at least for Middle East and Africa, as a code of ethics. You cannot do that. You cannot do social media campaigns and having the lead generations, and from that you convert the lead into sales. This is not the story of pharma. You need to respect the communication with the doctors, to communicate with the scientific data, and your messages not to play with the doctor's mind, but to respect their minds in the most efficient and preferred way they like it. And accordingly, based on that, the pharma model changed. It has started to evolve the past couple of years from this story of generally multi-channel, so many noises that's happening, into a customer-centric approach where everything is about your customers. And who are our customers? I mean, for the promotional companies, usually the doctors and healthcare societies. Who are the consumer? The patients. We cannot directly communicate with patients because that has a respect. We cannot influence their voices. It should happen through the doctors who are recommending the right medications with the right treatment algorithm and treatment landscape to the patients. So hyper-personalizations of communication based on the right time, at the right channel, with the right audience, with the right message, or with the relevant message. That's a big change that we are looking for. And then the new reality comes, where I don't know which have I invested. No, that's not the truth anymore. So that's the unleashing the power of artificial intelligence and machine learning, where you can know and predict many of these investments and you can optimize the resources. Are we there? About to, but not there yet. Why? Because it requires a lot of data collections, a lot of things that I will talk about it very quickly. But in a summary, what we had so far. We shared the model from in 1990 until 2000s, that the model was just a sponsorship, local and international, face-to-face, printed and physical materials. This is how it started in the past 20 years plus of the pharma industry, which is okay and which is very good and is still efficient in many. The second move, we moved into multi-channel. So guys, what's multi-channel? Now you have the same message. You are cascading this message across many channels. But a big noise, a less respect for the HCP timing. You don't know if this will make sense with the HCP's preferences or not. Many might be disappointed. Many might say this is too much. The marketeers might be happy that they are doing amazing things, but on the background, the doctors will not like it if it's not matching their preferences. And that's why the omni-channel evolution started in the past 10 years. And I can say many have started the omni-channel journey in 2020 in pharma. Before pharma, in fashion industry and the others, it started 5 years and 6 years ago. But the omni-channel marketing started very late in pharma. It depends on the countries, absolutely, and the technology and the innovations and the data collection that you are looking for it. But it starts late. And this one is about hyper-personalization based on the preferences of the doctors at the right time, with the frequency, with the right messages, at their own preferences, and not only that, but embedding the power of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So that's a kind of automation where you can make the call of the field force extremely efficient, highly impactful, highly profitable, and less disruptive to the HCPs, matching more engagement with the doctor's time and respecting their valuable assets, respecting their minds and what's really they are looking for. That's a big innovation and jump in pharma. They are about to happen, started to happen in small scales. And I'm gonna, before to go into that, I know that about exceeding the time a little bit. I would like to, because I talked in the beginning of the presentations, back to the future, right? And from that, imagine with me that we came back 20 years ago when I was in the college. I'm not that old, by the way. So in that model, which is still very valid, not to get me wrong, the product specialists or the field force were visiting the doctors in the call. After the call, they leave a drop card and printed materials, which is still valuable. I'm not saying no. and calling the doctor before or after the call, and maximum sending a summary of email. If the company is really advanced from 20 years ago, having Outlook company emailers developed since at the time. And then they moved 5 years later into, you know what, I'm having websites, Web 2.0, 1.0, 3.0, a lot of static communications. I'm sending the same messages across many, many channels. And then in the beginning, it's interesting and amazing, exciting. The doctor sees something different, but with many companies are doing the same, the doctors become, it's too much, it's overwhelming. Are you sure this is what I need? Are you sure this is what I like? And then the model, imagine with me now, with the rep that's happening now, and instead of, I'm going to ask you this question, where you left the drop cards, you are not sure of the impact of the drop cards. You are not sure if the doctor like it or not. And either if they respect it, they will put it in the drawer, or it will go the other place, which we know. And in both cases, you will never know what happened at the end. But imagine with me if the doctor is interested in your emailer campaigns and he consented, in one click, you will be able to know what they prefer, which formatting they like, which content they clicked. And then you take this conversation, it's not a conspiracy. You talk to the doctor and tell him, you know, doctor, last time I sent you some of the emailers in the past 2-3 weeks, and I see one of them, it looks interesting for you. I'd like today to discuss one of the patient cases about this content. And then you take the story of closed loop marketing from just sending the emailer into a launch pad with HTML, the marketer at the back office see if the message is communicating well from the analytics that you are doing, and then they came back to optimize the product specialist and the field force with the most efficient tool to deliver the message with full respect to the doctors at their preferred timing, frequencies, at their own personalizations that they like. So imagine with me what's happening nowadays. If they came back 20 years ago, they will have a lot of disappointments and wondering. But at the time, it was amazing, absolutely. And still, some of these tools makes a lot of sense. So notes to remember. Building data and infrastructure is very important because you can do a lot of AI. You can do a lot of magic, artificial intelligence, a lot of amazing things. But if you don't have the data, if you don't collect the data, if you don't clean it and make sense and do this a long term, it will not make an impact. This is the first thing. The second, change management and upskilling for the team is very important. Celebrating small wins. Because if you don't speak from the field force reality, no one will listen. If they don't speak as well with the doctors, tell them this is upcoming and this is happening. We're exploring different things that we are doing as a partnership where we can optimize our experience. And instead of wasting your time with many, many channels, I send you the 1 or 2 that you really like it. Doctor, do you like it? Don't make an assumption. Just ask the HCPs. What do you prefer? Which timing, frequency, formatting, contents, which engagement that you like. Take this in a questionnaire or in a paper format or in anything and try to record it and put it in your data and infrastructure. And that's how you will collect the data lake. Collect, based on the doctor's permission, after respecting the time. And then after minimal 6 months, you start to do artificial intelligence and machine learning models, where you can predict the analytics, predict profitability, the best sequencing, the best interest for the doctors, the best timing of sending email, the best day of sending email. All of these exist, and I've seen some of these examples. And again, this is only to empower for better engagements for our healthcare professional and better impacts to our society. And this is just a quick inspirations of artificial intelligence and machine learning. We cannot talk about that because it's a lot to take as well and digest. But you can predict many things. You can predict sales, pricing. You can predict the factors affecting the sales and pricing, impactful sales, and many, many others. You can have, and even the data, if it doesn't work well into the spaces, because many will say the linear regression doesn't work, you can combine deep learning with linear regression and many AI models that can make the data more challenging, make sense of the data, resonating with the customer voice, and help them to make decisions. It's not replacing what you have as a field force, not replacing the current team, but empowering them to make decisions. Thank you, and I'm leaving my contacts for any future communications, and feel free to ask me any question. Thank you. Any questions?
Can we get the mic, please? No, you have, please stay here. Yeah.
Thanks, Mohammed. Great session. One quick question. So you talked about the change from the pandemic and the post-pandemic era. There's a sudden change that happened in terms of the doctors' adoption, right? So when you're talking about the movement towards omni-channel and then towards the analytics, what do you see probably in the next 3 years after that? Where will it go to, and how will it impact the face-to-face time in the next 3-5 years, as you see?
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a very nice question. And thank you for your both presentation yesterday. I love both. I've seen yours. It was really valuable in pharma industry as well. So what I can see that it's not only about personalization. Now we are doing this a little bit manual and automated, but I see it exist in other countries. I wouldn't say where and which companies, but it happens where it make an automation. So this automation, it share the ideal world, like to answer your question shortly. What's the best sequence? Emailer, face-to-face, video calls, automated, based on the previous experience in the past 1 year, and based on the same persona of HCPs, of the doctors. Because you might don't have the same data, but you have the data for the same clusters. And this kind of automation, it shows that you need to stop sending emails, focus on webinar. You need to stop webinars, focus on meetings. This kind of analytics based on the led to impactful sales, led to market share. I hope this is where we reached. It has started, I have seen it, but I think the optimal model, it's on the way to go. It's not yet 100% established in, most of the countries. The second part, I wouldn't put a big claim on that, but I imagine that within 10 years, the metaverse will change many things. So I just imagine, don't quote me for this, I know it's recorded, but I imagine that within 10 years, it might change that instead of video call, additional option that we meet the HCPs, the doctor put the glass, and he meet all of the 10 reps virtual. And then we have a lot of fun, we share the materials and we go there and we make a lot of engagements. And I think it will change everything. The whole pharma industry will change, and those who are starting doing this will be the lead. How much this will go, I'm not sure, because I know that how the Facebook changed into the metaverse because of the many reasons. But I see many AI and data scientists, they started to work on developing the metaverse, not for pharma, but for the other industries. And I think pharma will join, to answer your question.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, most welcome.
Anybody else? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mohammed.